A side official. No negotiations needed, period. You already know WCS is back in the building. I'm going to give it a minute, for the supporters and hardcore aficionados to come on deck. Hopefully everyone is doing great on this Monday, man. Those of you that's heading out to the workforce, wish you nothing but a happy, healthy, injury-free work day. Stress-free work day. You know what I'm saying? Continue to advance in your life, and be successful as you select to be. Successful as you can be. Of course, we're going to talk about some boxing. I want to give my take on what I thought about Ryan Garcia defeating Mario Barrios. They came out with a solid game plan, right? Joe Goosen, who used to be in Ryan's corner, whenever you see the switch up and your previous coach is in the corner of your adversary, that automatically lets you know that everything you worked on back then, if you select to not grow or do your due diligence and study film and all that, you will come in with the same game plan that pretty much would have benefited Team Mario Barrios if Team Garcia would have continued to act like he was distracted, complacent, just really wasn't paying attention to not being so predictable and everything with the left hand. So you can see early on that Team Garcia came out and they was in the camp. They was in the lab working on the right hand. And the right hand early on was just as effective as the left hand was, for Ryan Garcia. Like, when you look at the way the knockdown happened, was Mario Barrios prepared for that? I don't think so, because Garcia was throwing it with bad intentions. It was very sharp, quick, very punctual shot, and the speed on it, his hand speed. He has this kind of jerky hand speed, man, that Barrios had to collect some data and get his timing down a little bit. Else it seemed like he was going out early. And per Ella Stecker, that just wasn't going to happen. Garcia looked good. I like the entertainment value of the fight between Garcia and Barrios. I did. I like the entertainment value. We was treated to action right out the gate in the early rounds, and then the fight settled in a little bit, and Barrios was able to land, some shots, but really wasn't no telling shots. Shots that slowed down the rhythm. Shots that told me that he can take the momentum back from Garcia. Shots that told me, okay, let's make the fight close. We really don't know who's winning, and it's around the 8th or 9th round. I never seen it happen. I never was able to see Barrios reel it back in and take over that momentum that was stole from him early on in the fight. From what I've been reading, people saying, Garcia didn't look like that when he fought Rolly. Of course not. We cannot gauge how fighters looked in a previous fight. I don't know why human beings in general that cover boxing or participate as a fan would say, he didn't look like that in Rolly fight. So I want to know if he was tested. It's almost like boxing fans, they would see a fighter that was, wearing that coat of controversy, that jacket of controversy, suspended. All the racist stuff he was talking about, the drinking and all that. He came into this press conference a lot different. But it seemed for boxing fans, they wasn't satisfied. Why? Because they always want to see some type of controversy, something to be a part of chaos and mayhem, some type of material content for criticism. Ryan Garcia came in like we wanted him to come in. Focused, ready to fight. Mario Barrios is not a trash talker like that. So it wasn't a boring press conference leading up. It wasn't a boring weigh-in. It was just people more curious to see how Ryan Garcia is going to look, being able to hopefully win his first world title. The WBC title at that. And that's exactly what happened. I thought he was going to punch himself out at one time just loading up on his shots and Ryan Garcia. But both fighters settled into their groove, man. It became a boxing match. And I will have to say I wasn't really disappointed with any part of the bout. People are looking at it like Barrios is a punching bag. I told people prior to going in this fight, if you reviewed any of Barrios' previous fights, he was getting touched up a lot. And Ryan Garcia was able to do the exact same thing, get an early knockdown. I say, man, he's down in the first round. Come on, man. Come on, Barrios. Get up and make it a fight. And, once again, I was telling people, El Azteca, he's not going to go over there and quit. He's built different. You have these tribal warriors, man, they built different. They're not going to go out there and quit. Barrios is recently, I'm not sure, 2 years into his marriage. 2 or 3 years, has a newborn that's probably a year right now. I'm not sure to the age. But he has other responsibilities at home. He has a newlywed wife. And, I made a comment about this when it actually happened, when the baby was just born. I said he may not be as focused, because when you have your first kid, you can be in the gym all you want, but you may be focused on what's going on at home. So, congratulations to Garcia on being the WBC welterweight champion. So therefore, of course, he called out, he wanted Haney. Shakur said, he wouldn't mind fighting. We'll see what happened. I'm not going to get hyped up about it, because with in this fight game, when a fighter pop dirty, man, they just want to sometimes say, no, you got to do this, you got to do that. It's a champion down. He's a champion. So if we have champions at 147 pounds, mix it up. Don't just say the first time you fought me, I don't want to fight you no more because you was dirty. That's in the past right now. He's been suspended for that. It'll be a good fight the fight fans want to see. Moving on to Claressa Shields and Shields-Dezern. Headed to this fight, I thought it was going to be somewhat the way it played out, but it was a little bit more action than I initially expected. Sometimes in women, like the first fight, it was a little sloppy to me. It was a lot of flurries on the first fight, but Claressa, that was her first fight, and it was okay, but not one time in that fight I felt that Shields had a chance to win the fight. 10 years had passed. They returned to the center square, and I'm saying to myself, well, Shields should have, definitely she's improved since then, and Claressa has improved. Multi-division undisputed, multi-division world champion. Her credential sheet is overflowing. So a part of me was saying, once again, I don't believe Shields has gained enough, even though she's a tough individual. I talked to her once when she was down here in Atlanta at a fight card. Very good person. And I just didn't think heading to this fight that she would have enough to level or balance out the potential of this being a close fight, or being able to knock Shields down. You know, Shields only has 3 knockouts, so Franchon has more power. I was just trying to find a space in there to say, where do I insert the controversy or the shock and awe factor? Is Franchon going to be able to shock Carissa like Hannah Gabriel did? Is it going to be some type of it factor that we go back to as boxing fans and say, this moment right here caught me off guard. This is shocker right here. Oh man, this is nice. This, that, and the other. It didn't happen. But what I did like between both fighters was they did keep up the activity rate as much as they could. It slowed down a little bit for Franchon in the 6 or 7. Carissa has fast hands, man. Shields has fast hands. Man, her combinations, the way she was throwing the 1-2 and hook to the body, she has fast hands. Franchon, I was impressed with her jab. She's long. Her jab is long, and her timing. She was having impeccable timing. You know, shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Shout out to y'all. I can't see you with my glasses, but my shades on, but shout out to everyone in the hottest chat in the game. Appreciate y'all pulling up. Franchon was very accurate with punching while Clarissa was punching. You know, she had jab, 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 right. You know, try to come over the top with the right hand, which was smart. She was able to land it in the exchanges sometime with Shields. But the barrage of punches that Shields was able to land throughout that 2-minute round, it was just too much. It was just too much. And at no point in time that Franchon, in my opinion, you know, convinced me that she was gonna have a, you know, win some rounds, man, and make the fight close. It just didn't happen. It was no way. Carissa combinations, man, even though in little pockets it was sloppy, but the whole fight itself, Clarissa showed at heavyweight her hands are fast. Combinations. She was doing a 1-2 hook to the body, man. She was punching. Sometimes she was punching Dezern as she was coming in, because sometimes Franchon would come in and not stick behind, you know, had a stick active, and Carissa would make her pay. You know, Carissa would make her pay the whole toll crossing that bridge, coming in there leaned all over. And you're talking about multi-punch combinations fast. I was impressed with Shields' speed. But one thing I don't understand is why she don't move her head enough. Sometimes she'll try to slip, but when they engage on the inside, it just seems like they was all about just welling away. You know what I'm saying? Wing and ding, you know, just boom, 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 boom. And, you know, it got a little sloppy instead of them just keeping space, analyzing what's coming in front of them and slip that way. Almost like what Franchon was doing in the late rounds. Clearly she started to tire. It seemed like Carissa was gonna stop her in the 7th, right? But she got to a point to say, I gotta stick behind the jab. I gotta punch while Shields is punching. I gotta pick my points and see can I catch her. And when she was throwing that overhand right, she was throwing it with ill intentions. I mean, super ill intentions. And it's just both women was coming up short on some of those power shots. But a lot of them, they land, but a lot of meaningful ones that look good on camera, that they put everything they had into them, a lot of them just fell short. They was out of range. But the entire fight, to me, punch for punch, the activity rate between Franchon and Shields was entertaining. It was entertaining for all 10 rounds. Now, why they didn't do 3-minute rounds, I don't know. But I'm glad that the fight turned out better than what the weigh-in was. The weigh-in turned into both camps getting into it and all that. You know how they do over there. But as a whole, the two fighters themselves, man, get a check mark for me. I enjoyed the fight. I just looked at it like I wanted to give Franchon, you know, a chance to go in there and prove something other than just coming in second against Shields. You know, and early on she tried. She pushed it against the ropes. She tried, and then Shields like, nah, I'm gonna dance with you in the center of the ring. My hands are much faster than yours. You know, I'm just gonna beat her up, and that's just what she did. She started to beat Franchon Cruz up and make her wear the fight. But to Franchon's credit, I'm not gonna lie to you, she took those punches. She recovered well after the 7th. She was taking those punches pretty decent. Her mouth was open. I don't know if her cardio was the best. I don't know if it was the knee that she had to tape around, that, as you can see in the weigh-in, she kind of tripped over the table or whatever. But I still felt that she improved since the first time they met. Like, I was impressed with her jab. I was impressed with the short, quick, you know, right crosses on the inside. How she was, you know, trying her best to catch Carissa in between her punch sets. It was some very sneaky stuff going on from both fighters. Shields is just too fast. She's too attentive. Her hand speed is crazy. I think women's boxing, they better be glad that Carissa doesn't have just a little bit more punching power. Just give her 4 or 5 more pounds of punching power in both hands. Like, they better be glad she don't have any punching power, where she can just sit back and dig to the body, and people are like, God damn. If she had any punching power, I'm not talking about a cumulative knocking a fighter down. I'm talking about that sting that you get when you're digging and you're sitting down on your punches. I think that was another reason why Franchon was able to take some of Carissa's freaking power, because she only has 3 knockouts. And though it looks the part with Shields, with gloves on and everything, you know, Franchon's cardio, in my opinion, her fatigue was more so a factor than Carissa's freaking, you know, combinations. But it was a solid fight, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. Salute to Shields, man. She looks good at heavyweight. Her goddamn hand speed, boy, she looks good at heavyweight. I don't know what's next for Franchon. She's still, you know, the champion at 168. But what I would like to happen is Shields-Dezern Green was on deck, because she was looking for Shields-Dezern Green. So I guess she want to provide her with an opportunity to fight at 168. And who wouldn't want to see that? I will have to say Shields-Dezern Green has gotten better since I seen her on a lower tier regional circuit up to this point. Now, she's gotten better. She showed that with Savannah Marshall, you know? And you want to talk about size for size, both of them match up well when it comes to size. And once again, it's going to come down to how Shields-Dezern Green acclimates to being in there with a superstar like Shields. Is she ready and experienced enough at this point in her career to step in the ring with Shields? It's not going to be about size, power, even though she did what some consider to be a better performance against Savannah Marshall than Shields did. Savannah Marshall isn't Shields. And then there's going to be a lot of factors, in my opinion, that we should consider. And that is Carissa dropping down from heavyweight down to 168. I mean, that weight cut is going to be a weight cut. Shields-Dezern, you know, she's not a small girl. She's a big girl. She got that muscle mass on her. So that would be interesting to see, man. I would like to see Shields-Dezern Green. She even mentioned potentially, possibly fighting Franchon down at 168. I'm not trying to see a trilogy. You know, both of the fights played out pretty much what the fans thought they would. But I'm not trying to see a trilogy for Franchon titles at 168. That's what happened when you've done so much early on. And there's no knock on Shields. She's basically accomplished what she's supposed to accomplish above and beyond. The only factor I believe it plays is Carissa's weight cutting. You know? The weight cutting. I believe that's going to play a factor in everything. Carissa's weight cutting. And now she's fluctuating in between weight classes to you know, continue her legacy. And it's not a long extension of reputable competitive opponents for us to see the challenge Shields. Who's out there that we can say, oh, that's a 50-50 fight with Shields? Who's out there? I don't know where they at. Everybody want to say, you know, Michaela Mayer, all these other guys, but they got to fight though. Michaela Mayer was in the building, but is she gonna fight somebody like Shields, a heavier fighter? Mayer last fight, man, was entertaining too. She's gotten better. So I'm saying to myself, who's on the roster? Has any other fighters came in that we don't know about that potentially can challenge Carissa Shields in a 50-50 fight? That's what I'm looking at, man. But congratulations to Shields and Dezern, but more so Shields for defending the titles and everything. In other news, congratulations Gary Antoine Russell, you know, for getting it done. I mean, we already know the Russells are technically sound. You know, it just get to a point of, you know, Gary Antoine being consistent within the 140 pound division, and, you know, just staying there long enough to make a name for itself. You know, now that he's world champion, yeah, if he unified and fight another big name and win, that's even better. You know. Amari Jones fought Luis Arias. You know, going to that fight, I was just saying Luis is taking a lot of punishment. He's an older fighter right now. So a big part of me said, you know, the fight is not going to last or go the distance, because dude is just too old right now. He took a lot of punishment. He's been in some wars. He had his moment with Jerry Hurd. He did. Luis Arias, he can fight. He used to, you know, he still can fight. But back then, he had much more in the tank. And that's just not the case when he stepped in there with Amari Jones. So that expectation was out there front and center for everybody to see it. We knew that was going to happen. What else, man? I'm looking forward to David Benavidez and Gilberto Ramirez, aka Zerto, man. Yeah, that's gonna be a nice fight. That's gonna be nice. Zerto is unified. You know, Benavidez is moving up the cruiserweight to once again page another chapter in his career. It stalled out for a little bit at 168. I'm glad he gassed it up out of there, went to 175. I did, because he was never going to get that fight. And I believe if he would have got fought Canelo, he potentially might have won. He potentially might have won. Who knows? But I'm glad Crawford was the one who, in this era, will be the last person to defeat Canelo Alvarez. But I'm looking forward to this Benavidez Gilberto Ramirez fight at cruiserweight. It's gonna be a banger. It's gonna be an absolute banger. Real talk, it's gonna be a banger. Seriously. That fighter, Abeko, I believe his name was, that was chiseled like a Adonis. You know what I'm saying? Like a Greek Adonis. You know, I was having a conversation with somebody. I said, man, all that muscle mass requires and demands oxygen. You can work out in the gym at your own pace, and the bag is not going to do anything except be there for you to hit, you know, work out. The treadmill is going to be there. The roll is going to be there. You know, all these other entities to help you train is going to be there, but they don't have a mind of their own unless they're a sparring partner. And even a sparring partner is not the opponent that you're going to face in the ring. They're only there to provide you assistance in preparation to get ready for your fight. He found out all that muscle in there with a boxer, you know, you start to tighten up. Some of the shots he was missing, he was just off balance because you just got all that damn muscle, all that lactic acid kick in, your shit tight. You can't have fluidity in your combinations. You can't really get your power down. I mean, it was bound to happen the way it happened. You know, he can put his arms out until the ref and say, "Oh man, no, why you stop it? It should have been stopped, bro. You would have got beat up." The whole point is, you know, in boxing, sometimes for a fighter like him, they might say, okay, he has mad potential. Let's cut down some of the muscle mass after this fight. You got to get out the gym. You got to get out the gym earlier than what you're supposed to. Or you need to hire him another strength and conditioning coach to be able to shave some of that muscle off and get his cardio up. Allow that big guy to be able to throw more combinations, more punches to his combination set without fatiguing so much, so he won't have to hang out on the ropes. It was just too much muscle for him to go in there and think he was gonna get that knockout. He almost reminded me of F.A. Ajagba when he came on the scene. F.A. was big, man, but he was slow. Even, you know, they're in two different weight classes. I was like, you know, this dude was slow this past weekend. He got stopped. He's going to have to go back, revamp some things, and return, you know. Jahad Tucker, I think Jahad Tucker is set to fight this weekend. Shout out to Electric Boogie, man. I'm looking forward to seeing him getting back. His last fight was last June. And I'm really looking forward to see him get back in the ring. He's a different type of fighter, man. One of the more entertaining fighters in boxing. It's just haven't been a lot said about Jahad Tucker as of recent. You know, you check his IG, he does post pics. But boxing is a grimy sport, and I'm not sure what's going on with the weather report of Jahad, because he's supposed to be out there under the sunshine, showing people what it is. You know, how versatile he is. You know, how slick and smooth. You know, being that he should be considered a top 10 fighter, or potentially getting a title shot. But boxing, man, it's just like life sometimes. You know, you see situations play out and you say, why? How? I thought it was all about my performance value. I don't know, man. But I hope in 2026 we see more Jahad Tucker on deck, out here competing. If I'm not mistaken, his opponent was changed to Nico Ali's old opponent. The brother that's big. He can fight too. He's tough. Well, but Jahad is quick. He's mobile, smart fighter. The tricks that he does in the ring, his defense on the inside. He can box on the outside, inside. I mean, he's just an exciting fighter, period. So I'm really hoping sometime in the future he gets his shot. You know, he's not with Top Rank anymore. He still has one of the coldest lines ever said on national TV. He beat up Xander's sparring partner when they thought Jihad was gonna get knocked out. They brought a guy down to Jihad's weight that had fought high as 175, 177. He said, Xander, come pick your fucking mans up. That was one of the coldest freaking lines ever, man. It pissing people off. You know what I'm saying? It pissing people off. But that shit was cold, man. I ain't gonna lie, that shit was cold. He said, Xander, come pick your fucking mans up. I was like, damn. I mean, that was a hell of a fight, though. But I'm looking forward to this weekend. A fight this weekend. What else about boxing? Yeah, I'm not for sure. I wanted to try to go live and do an open panel, you know, but it's not something I can say, okay, yeah, it's gonna happen today. But mark my word, I'm returning. I'm just sitting back. Look, when I sit back and just enjoying, you know, studying what I'm studying, looking at other sports, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't see any real change in anything that's going on YouTube. It's a lot of people believe that they're doing big things on YouTube, but I don't see it. The one person that I can say that's made the transition up to the big screen is Showbiz. Showbiz the dope, man. I saw him. He's certified now. He's on the big screen, dog. And we can all say in the community of social media, especially on the YTC, that Showbiz was once here, and that's where his foundation, that's was his launch pad, and now he's in front of the big screen, yo. He's in front of the big screen on national TV now. National. Global. And that's one person that I can say, hey, you did it. You did it. Now it's showbiz. You know what I'm saying? You're in the show business. You're up there interviewing fighters, managers, previous fighters, promoters, and all that. He did the damn thing. Regardless if you hated him, I mean, you liked him or disliked him. He's on the television screen now. All the other cats that's claiming to do this, that, and the other and want to compare numbers, you're no better than me. I've always told them that if you have no stock in a platform, it's not an asset on your portfolio. It can always be managed and controlled by somebody else. So what numbers you think you're doing because you're buying this viewership and subscribers, there's still money coming out your pocket just to fake it to your viewers so they can potentially, hopefully, donate money back to your channel. Why? It's not up for me to do an investigation and try to come up with clear, concise evidence to prove my point. But the YTC is what it is, man. And some of these cats think they, you know, just because they come on every day and talk about current events that's going on with boxing, somehow, some way it's improving their platform. I don't see it. Like, I've been off the grid for a minute and popping up every now and then. And I'm saying it's no change, man. It's no change. Like, I would say Shaw News, his platform is elevated. I like how clean. I think him and C-Dub is working together. His thumbnails and his whole process on how he's disseminating his information out there, that's clean. I like that. That's clean. Very nice. Very nice. But there's people out there that's doing the AI stuff and this, that, and I'm not feeling no type of way about it. Kudos to you for doing the, you know, the AI, you know, one AI, but, you know, consistent thumbnails talking about different topics. That's what I'm talking about. But as a whole, those of you that know what I'm talking about, the other 99.99%, I'm just not seeing no drastic change, man. I remember one time they was talking about, oh man, let's debate I mean, it's a lot of cats that's still not my mandatory out here to debate boxing. It's just the same format all the time when it comes to individuals just trying to dip back in the past. I mean, I guess there's no fights to really strike up a debate. Like all these Bud Crawford haters that wanted to debate whether he should fight Canelo, they absolutely have nothing to debate now. All these guys who was debating Errol Spence Crawford, they're still living in complete and utter misery because they was absolutely wrong. They was wrong. They didn't fall off the boat. They fell off a freaking Grand Tower, the Empire State Building. That's who they fell off. They fell off the Empire State Building twice because the Spence supporters were on Team Canelo's side, some of them, and they was, insidiously trying to, show their presence and say, yeah, I want Canelo to win, knowing damn well they was a Spence fan before he got beat by Crawford. And they know for an absolute fact, they was so confident in it, and the assurance, man, was strong. The smell was pungent, right? They got up there and they said, oh, man, there's no way Crawford beating Canelo. He too small, man. Gamboa. Crawford had already said Gamboa was the hardest puncher. He wouldn't have beat him. See, you start bringing up Crawford and Canelo, man, the numbers, they get up out of here. Because they don't want to hear me talk about that shit no more, man, because Crawford's retired. But at the end of the day, we still have it in our history books that Crawford is one of the most hated fighters of this era outside of Deontay Wilder. That's a fact. He's one of the hated fighters outside of Deontay Wilder. Yes. But enough cannot be said about the success and how he shut down Canelo Alvarez, man. And then you still have people that's going to support Canelo, which they should. Why not? But look at it this way. Look at it this way, yo. The build-up, the ridicule, the biggest bubble of all, doubt. It was so much precipitation of negativity placed on Crawford's head. The cloud that people was, how they was, how they say they're doing the storms now. These boxing aficionados or whatever, these critics, they was generating these storms of criticism for Crawford, no matter what his moves was. Like prior to him going there fighting Spence, it was just inclement weather. They continue to generate these storms on Crawford. Boom, he fights Spence. They say it was an accident. It was a clone. He was dehydrated. So he goes up there, and they consider him to look subpar against Madrimov. Then the conversation starts to, dance around on social media. People doing live streams on what Crawford's next move and who he should fight, who he isn't fighting, why he ain't fighting that person. He look old. This, that, and other. Then Canelo name pops up. And what they say, Crawford is about to cash out. So now it gets to a point where he's too small, and a picture comes out, and Crawford's looking in tremendous shape. Fight day comes up. No one's expecting Crawford to go in there and look like Mel Charlo. And he goes in there and dominates Canelo. The rest is history, boxing fans. The rest is history. The rest is history. I'm not from Omaha, Nebraska, but I'm glad that Crawford was able to have that success and absolutely defeat Canelo the way he did. Not just defeat him and have it a close fight. He went in there and dominated Canelo. And once again, he destroyed another fan base. He destroyed another fan base, yo. That's why he will always be hated. He destroyed another fan base. And the fans will never get over that, yo. That post-traumatic stress that they're going to experience, they'll never get over it. But shout out to the hottest chat in the MF game, man. Continue to support your boy. I appreciate y'all. Be safe out there. I'm out. Peace.